My name is Gavin, born in Alberta, Canada, raised in Punjab, India, and then Toronto adopted me in 2007. You can imagine the identity crisis, to the point I had suicidal thoughts back in 2018. And the key ingredients to my transformation was being authentic, trusting, connecting, and eventually traveling. My traveling journey started earlier this year with Tulum, Mexico. And I'm here to share my journey from a monologue to a dialogue. All right, cool. Okay. All right, we have Danny with us. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come in your studio. First of all, I want to start with, what's your full name, Danny?
It's Daniel Ciccolini.
Daniel Ciccolini. And you are from, where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles originally, but my parents are from Argentina. So I'm first generation in the States, and then from there, like my parents have lineage from Italy as well.
Cool, very nice, very nice. That's awesome. And then were you raised in Argentina, or you just lived all your life in LA?
Well, I was actually born in Texas, but like I grew up in Los Angeles the majority of my life, like from the age of 5. I haven't lived in Argentina. I've had like extended stays, like when you go to visit Argentina, because it is about a day and a half traveling. You tend to stay for at least like 2.5, 3 weeks. Sometimes I've stayed 5 weeks there at a time. Usually through like the months of December and January when it's like Christmas break, and it's summer down there, so it's nice to get out of the cold or somewhat cold winters in Los Angeles.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I relate to that because when I go to India, it takes a day and a half as well, and once I'm there, there's no point of just staying there for 3-4 days.
Yeah, no, for sure.
3 to 5 weeks for sure. So that's awesome. Wow. And then, so you're from Los Angeles, and when did you come to Tulum?
I got here, I first visited in April, but I actually moved out the 1st of July. And then I've just been on my tourist visa, so I'll stay for 6 months, I'll leave for a brief period, and then come back,
Wow, beautiful. And that's why how we met was about 2-3 weeks ago. And I came to your class, Animal Flow.
Correct,
Yeah. And I want to get started on that, but just describe in your own words, what is Animal Flow?
So for me, what Animal Flow is, it's a way of connecting the mind to the body. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes that a lot of people tend to just gloss over because of the movements looking super cool and everyone wants to do cool stuff. But it's all about again, coordination, utilizing your brain, and think about the movements more like puzzles, and how can you make that puzzle be the easiest or most efficient as possible, rather than just trying to grind out reps and just try to sweat and kind of like the American style of training where it's go hard, go home. If you're not puking or you're not hurting, then you're not doing anything. And it's completely the opposite. I like to think of it as try to accomplish the movement in the least amount of reps as possible, right? Again, we were talking earlier, I'm a lazy mover, right? I love to move, but why would I want to do 1,000 reps, and not progressively get better at each rep when I can just really put my mind, focus, and attention into 4 or 5 reps and make those the best quality reps I can.
Wow, that's awesome. Because I saw when I did Animal Flow, and then when I went to the gym, it kind of shifted my perspective. I was more mindful of each form I was doing and making sure that it was hitting the body parts. And with Animal Flow, what I liked also the groundedness of it. Because you're using your legs and arms on the ground. So that movement is pretty awesome.
It's a lot, especially in our culture, we see being off the ground, upright, standing. And so being on the ground is a negative thing. And in my years as a trainer, I was in just personal training, then I went into sports performance, and then kind of geared off into more of the movement culture now. And interacting with the ground is something that we did. I mean, that's part of the development, right? We don't know how to walk. We just first of all roll on our backs until we learn how to keep our head still enough to see, okay, this is the ground. Then we start moving our hands and feet, and then we get confidence enough to start actually crawling, and then from there our knees get incorporated, and then little by little we get to that upright posture. But like because we spend so much time away from it, like interacting with the ground, like it becomes like a fearful spot, right? You don't know, like I may hurt myself or whatnot, and it's the more that I've spent time on the ground is like the stronger I feel, like the more durable I feel I am.
Yeah, no, I relate with that because there are so many other choices these days that you don't think about. Like, hey, let me actually play with the ground. You know, that's how we, as babies, that's how the progression started.
Yeah.
So wow. And then when did this passion started? That you being a animal flow
Instructor.
Instructor. Yeah.
So, like, my background has always been in athletics. Like I played t-ball since I was 5. That was like my main sport, baseball, up until like high school. Then I started playing American football. I was like, okay, I fucking like hitting people and like scoring. So I did that throughout high school and college. And then once I graduated from college, I had like no intention on like taking it further. I was real with myself. I'm like, these guys are fucking big, they're strong, like, and there's no way I'm gonna go pro. So I graduated, I came back home, and I was just like still doing my football regimen because it's what I knew, what I was comfortable with. I was working an office job, and I did that for about like 5 years, and then I just got super tired of it, right? It was like 9 to 5, dreading going in, couldn't wait till I get out, would go to the gym, and I would like lift for an hour, play ball for an hour. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh, fuck this, like, what can I do? And I just got a personal training cert, and I started training people. So I was at one little studio called The Perfect Workout, where it was like high intensity, slow motion strength training. It was like almost like a PT setting. It was like office-like with machines. That was fun, learned about biomechanics, and I got bored with that. And then I applied for Equinox, and Equinox is like one of the most premier gyms in the US. And they have their own training institute called the EFTI, Equinox Functional Training Institute. So then I started learning more about like biomechanics, movement patterns, how to like prevent injury from utilizing all movement patterns. And then within Equinox, they offer you like essentially free education or very discounted education.
Right.
It'd be like kettlebells, TRX, like what you name it. Like they bring instructors, they give you half off on it, and then you learn it. And one of them was animal flow. I was like, oh, this looks cool. Like I don't see the real applications. I'm like, it's not gonna make me stronger. It just looks cool. Like it looks like breakdancing a little bit. And I would see other instructors utilizing it with their clients. Like, okay, like let me learn a little bit. So I would ask one of the trainers. They show me some stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. Just like take it as it is. And then I kept seeing it more and more. I'm like, dude, this looks really cool. Like I really want to have like a training style that I don't need anything. Like there's no excuse. It's just you, your body, the floor.
That's
right?
it. Right.
That's all you need.
Right.
And so I ended up doing the certification back in 2016 with the creator of Animal Flow, Mike Fitch. He came to LA, and it was a level 1 certification. Took it, fell in love with it because of how like his own explanation, right? I feel like it would have been different if I took it from another instructor, just another instructor, but like to be there with him, seeing his thought process, like what went into creating it, like why he developed it, and seeing the practicality of it, like really resonated with me. And then I got certified, and just started playing with it more and more. My own what cues or what things can I say that make it my own style, and then little by little started implementing it with like a client, and then I started doing like little classes here and there, and then during the pandemic I started doing like a Sunday flow, where it would be like breath work for about like 10 minutes, then we go into some light mobility for another 10 minutes, and then like the rest of the time or that first hour would be flow. And then from there it was like the next hour I'd have like other buddies of mine coming in. So it became like a group thing, like especially in such a like stressful time in everyone's life, to come and do something outside in nature and building that community. Like I was like, wow, this shit's beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. So that was just initiated you to do this full time.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's quite a journey.
Yeah, no, like, and like in the beginning, like, you have your highs and your lows. I'm like, how is this gonna, like, how am I gonna see this at the end, right? Like, you don't know why things are happening and like what's occurring, but then like you start to piece them together and see like the bigger purpose.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge you for taking that leap of faith. The 9-to-5 job grind could be very robotic, or not really in tune to our uniqueness.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you were able to find it and you're here now, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And then, did you had a role model or a mentor in this?
Like as far as like the
that-
movement culture, I would say like I had like a ton of mentors, and but like as far as specific in the movement culture, it probably is like Mike Fitch.
Mike Fitch, right?
Because
That's
like
what I was
his
thinking.
background was in everything. He did parkour, he did gymnastics, he was a break dancer. He pretty much did everything, and then he compiled it all and like put it into like a nice little package with like verbiage so it can be easily taught to more people.
Right, that's beautiful. And then what I found about Animal Flow was like it was fun and challenging at the same time. So just a little bit more on what was so fun about it and what's so challenging about this flow.
I mean, the fun thing about it is like a lot of training styles can be like super rigid, right? When I describe animal flow, I say if you have yoga on one end of the spectrum and then like capoeira and breakdancing on the other end, it's like somewhere in the middle, right? Because it can be super slow, like very passive and graceful, but then you can mix it up and get into like nice movement flows where the movements look strong and powerful and explosive.
Right, and I loved it that you actually trained me first of the movements, and then you just let me do it.
Yeah.
Like really feel the flow.
Yeah.
And the music was playing, and then I started dancing at the end.
Yeah.
So it was really good. I really felt in my body and that flow.
Yeah, and that's like something I kind of like developed over time. Like, how do I want my classes to be? Like, and like you hit the nail on the head. Like, I want it to be fun. As we get older, right, we tend to lose sight of like, what does keep us youthful? It's play, right? We don't. I think was it Benjamin Franklin, or like there's that saying where it's like, we don't stop playing because we get old. We grow old because we stop playing. And like that one, and I think I got that from the movie Tag. There's a movie called Tag.
Okay, I haven't watched
and they use that quote in the movie. I was like, dude, that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
And I want to always embody that and like show people that like you can play, like play with no control or focus just becomes chaos, right? And too much of one thing can be bad, but like controlled play can be super beneficial.
Thank you for sharing that. Because like it also aligns with like keeping your heart open at all times too.
Yeah.
You know, that analogy too. So it's beautiful. So that was Animal Flow. And then
one of the many modalities.
One of the other modalities. And then I had the opportunity to do inversion therapy with you, or we call it flying therapy.
Therapeutic flying. It's kind of
Therapeutic
like a cool little term we coined, and thinking of like how can we like spice it up for people in Tulum to be like, okay, inversion therapy. It got confused with yoga inversions.
Right.
There are women coming in and they're like, oh, are we practicing headstands, handstands? I was like, none of that.
None of that.
You're not even be touching the ground.
So what was it? Like, I mean, now the viewers are watching, and then if you want to, in your words, what is inversion therapy or flying therapy?
It's essentially like a tool that we can use to kind of open up the body, and there's physical decompression that I feel can allow you to open up to like work on the other stuff, like emotional decompression or spiritual decompression. I mean, that's what it was for me. I know that like if I feel like I'm in a better place physically, it'll allow me to delve into these other aspects of my life. But I first learned about it in college. My professor in physical, because I got my degree in physical education. So my professor, Dr. Ed Thomas, he was one that's a big proponent of restorative exercise, right? A lot of like, as we've grown in civilization, we become like more tech nerds and stuff like that. We don't really like challenge ourselves physically as much anymore. So a lot of people like going into training, they're not even at base level to start incorporating stressors to their life. Right? Let's first get to like home base, like work on alignment, work on posture, and then we can start adding these more intense and more challenging like techniques or protocols or modalities.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah,
in that
100%.
sense. And it's just the idea of like hanging upside down. You know, the idea of it, like it doesn't come very natural. Like, hey, I want to be hung upside down today.
Yeah. But it's funny, like he mentioned that like when doctors would pull babies out, or like if you grab a baby, like he says most babies, like if you take them and gently put them upside down, like they kind of enjoy it. Like they're not scared to be upside down because they don't have conception of like what's
what
up,
is-
what's down. They
right.
just know they're being held, right? So they tend to enjoy it a little bit more because it feels a little bit more freeing.
Yeah, and when I was upside down with you, and it did feel, because it came with the trust, because my mind was going like, hey, if this drops, my neck is done, and then just trusting again, surrendering to the process, and then the moment I closed my eyes, I literally felt like I was flying.
Oh, yeah.
I was flying, and then something about the back, right? Like then I was researching, and then it opens up the spine even more, or it gets the maximum traction there.
Yeah. Because so how I do the inversion is we'll put those boots on your ankles that have the hooks, and so like the ankles and wrists are good like anchoring points for like to create traction to open up the extremities. So yeah, like having yourself hung there. And for me, like as I have someone hang and they're in complete inversion, I take like a little walk around just to notice like where their alignment is. Like I do from the side angle, like is there a straight line, from the ankle bone all the way down to the top of the head, or like through the ear to the top of the head, and then from the side, like are you rotated? Is like something in the hips or the shoulders shifted? But yeah, no, it allows you to not rely on something. Like normally when we think about like stretching, we utilize a wall or a floor or something where we can compensate, right? That traction from the ankle, that anchoring point, allows for complete freedom. So like the muscles or the structure of the body is going to go where it feels more comfortable, right? So then we can start to work utilizing the breath and like putting my hands on you to kind of like put you in alignment. Okay, do you feel tension? Okay, learn how to release that tension so that when I let go, you maintain that perfect posture.
Wow, and then everything was in tandem with breathing as well. That was the important concept as well. I felt when you twisted me like this and the other way around, I really felt like, that twist, and I'm like, this is something new.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and that's what I enjoy. Like especially through inversions, and then like we did the ice bath together. Like being a part of someone's journey for something for the first time, and helping him getting over that fear of like the unknown, like what's gonna happen? Like, am I gonna get hurt, or is this gonna be the most amazing thing ever? Right? And like being a part of that process and like seeing people go through it has like been really gratifying for me.
Yeah, and then when I got off it, I literally felt this mind reset. Because you feel the rush. If you think about it, the blood is going to your head. All the nutrients it's getting, and then when you get up, it was a clear mind.
That's why they say it helps with like your vestibular system, and that's the system that controls like your proprioception. So we talked about like those postures. There's the erect, standing, sitting, horizontal. Then there's the extended position, the flex position. But we never really go into inversion. So like when you do test that out, you're giving your brain so much information that like it's again absorbing that, then the combination of saturating the brain with new blood that's usually probably stagnant if you're not a consistent mover. All of that is just magic.
It's beautiful, man. It is magic, man. And like using your body. Like we're not using any weights or anything.
That's one thing I want to steer away from. Like as far as like technologically, we have some dope training equipment that we can utilize. Like I see it all the time with sports performance, but I like to be a minimalist with it. Like what can you do for yourself? Like if you use more technology, then you're taking away from what the body and mind are capable of doing to progress your training.
No, 100%. Beautifully said. And you mentioned about the ice cold bath. So that's a good segue to what we did right after inversion therapy. We went into the ice cold bath. Wow.
That was your first time.
My first time. That was my first time doing it. And then I was telling the boys, I'm like, now that I've done so many experience, soft. This will be very easy. And the moment I'm going closer to the water and then I touch it, I'm like, it's cold. It's really cold. Can't do it. But before I went in, we did some Wim Hof breathing. And then that was my first time doing it. And then I don't know, I felt this head rush, man. Like my head really got heavy after that. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Me going to the ice bath at first, panicking, and then going in, and then your assistant Alex was really good to just reminding me breathe. And then once I was in and tuned, with my breathing. I slowed it down. I was supposed to be in there for 2-3 minutes. Next thing you know, I'm in there for 7 minutes. So it was good to, good to feel that way. It felt strong.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I created that. I call the event on Sundays, reset and restore. Because like with both components, like breathing is crucial, and then the act of surrendering or just letting go, right? With inversion, it's surrendering to the fact that you're going to be upside down, hanging from an apparatus that you're not even sure like if it's going to hold you up. And then the other one, the ice bath, right? Surrendering to the cold and not knowing. Again, a lot of it's just like the fear of the unknown. You don't know how you're going to react, how bad it's going to be, or how good it's going to feel. So then you create these stories in your mind.
Yes.
But they all go in line. And when you have that, like not only just physical reset, but that mental reset that you just did two things that were good for you, but they were like challenging in the beginning. Like you're just like, fuck, I just conquered some shit.
Yeah.
So you feel way better about yourself.
Oh, dude, like I had the ability to push through, and which has been showing up in all realms of my life. You know, even my day job, or even like if I'm working out, just the ability to like push through the stress levels as well. So it's the connection. It's so awesome. So these 3 modalities that we did together, they were definitely physical. Right? You would say that it was physical, but then there is that connection to the mental. What is that? What is that connection of that physical to mental?
I mean, they're all 3 a little bit different, right? Like with animal flow, the mind-body connection is again like trying to create movement or create space, and like literally owning every ounce of your body through that movement. Like with the inversion, it's the ability to like just tap in and allow gravity to help open you up, right? Like, and it all starts with the breathing, right? Like when we breathe efficiently, when we learn to take full breaths to help decompress our body and also relax it or create like different states, like parasympathetic states where it's fight or flight, or sympathetic fight or flight, parasympathetic rest digest. That's also another connection, that you have the ability through breath to control your states at will.
Right.
And then, even with ice.
Right, and then that was the most consistent thing, as you mentioned, that the breathing component of it. I think that was like consistent throughout all those 3 modalities.
Yeah, breath has been like become like a huge part of my life. It initiated when I met my buddy Fareed, and he's Wim Hof certified and took me through a training. I was like, wow, this is powerful. Like, okay, I know like when I'm lifting, like inhale, exhale. Like right when you're lowering the weight down, you want to take a big breath in. When you want to press it away from you or do like the actual lift, you want to exhale to exert more force. But I thought that was like the extent of it. And then obviously, like meditative breathing or breathing for yoga, but it never really resonated with me. And then once I went through that training for Wim Hof, I was like, okay, like cool, like I'm a nerd with everything. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole. Learned all I can about Wim. Read his book, and then came across the Oxygen Advantage, which is another great book to teach you about like different techniques of breathing, and like even creating your Bolt score, which is a way of learning how you can deal with CO2 tolerance, right? The efficiency of your breath. And then there was James Nestor with breath, and then Laird Hamilton with XPT. So it's like, I was telling you, I'm like a fan of Bruce Lee, and like one of his things was like, you have these modalities or philosophies, right? Learn, take what serves you, leave the rest that doesn't serve you, and then you just start grabbing, and then you just make your own protocol, your own philosophy, and that's kind of like what I did.
Yeah, and that's why it makes the whole experience unique, and the beautiful. Yeah, like I loved it.
Thank you.
And then these were all natural experiences too. So I wanted to ask you, did you experience any failure? And if you did, how did you turn it around?
Like we talked about, like with football, right? Initially in high school, you have these dreams of like, fuck, I want to go D1, right? And then D1 can lead into the pros. Like in high school, like, okay, there's a possibility you could go pro. But then like, as I got older and like progressed through my football career, I was like, okay, well, I was one where like, I like to work hard, but I was never like a leader. I like to stay in the middle of the pack. And so I was like, I would do enough. So like retrospect, looking back on it, that's I guess what I consider kind of a failure. Like I didn't put my all into it. But it's cool because like now that I'm doing what I'm doing, like I put my all into this. So I feel like, if it weren't for those experiences in football and athletics, that I wouldn't be where I am today.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, exactly. Like, I mean, it's not like discarding all those experiences, even if you didn't feel you're 100% you, but then it definitely shaped you the way you are right now.
For sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. I resonate because I was always in the middle of the pack too. I didn't know
one of
where I
creative
belonged.
waves,
I don't know, like if I belong to the dark side or the light side. But let's stick in the middle.
Yeah. Middle's easy though, right?
Middle easy because
there's
you're
no
coasting.
growth.
Yeah,
And
no one's
it's just
watching.
Like,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, stay out. Yeah, this is clearly so many things are coming up for me in that sense too.
Yeah.
Where I want to be a leader now.
Yeah.
Because I ended up seeing that how I show up in the world. I do have my agendas, but then others people's agendas become my agenda just because how I was back in the days, just being in the middle of the pack and not leading even my thoughts or my decisions.
Yeah, like I never thought I'd like come into a leadership role, and then it's funny. It's like a month and a half in, one of my good friends, she did a soul reading. She's like, "You should do it. It's like super profound." I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Like, let's do it." I'm in Tulum. It's like probably one of the most Tulum things you can do. I was like, "Let's try it."
Yeah, why not?
And so like with that soul reading, the woman Mar, she tells you like who you've been in your past, some of your past lives. And she said for a good amount of them, like I was a leader. And so like that really resonates because I have had those feelings where like I want to step into a leadership role, and I know that there's been times where people like look up to me as like a coach and a mentor. I was like, I'm like, who am I? Like I have my flaws. Like I don't share them all the time, and a lot of people don't know. But it's like I have all these flaws. I can't be a leader. I'm not a good example. Da 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 da. Like all the excuses I want to say for like why I'm not stepping into that truth. But then when she said that, I'm like, you know what? Like yeah, I am a fucking leader. Like I didn't think about it when I first made the decision to move out here. I was like, you know what? I just want to live in another country. I want to experience like more of a town vibe, especially like Tulum with all like the movement and spirituality. I was like, it'll be dope. But what it's been really teaching me, like being here the last almost a year now, is that like it's been a lot of growth. Like getting confidence from my friends, like, shit, like, you are a fucking leader, you are, like, they keep telling me, like, no, you're the fucking man, like, you're a great coach, and, like, that really resonating with me now, giving me the confidence, like, like, I'm stepping into that truth, and, like, I want to help create, like, an impact, like, I don't want to be, like, famous or well-known, I want to, like, be remembered for creating, like, inspiration and impact in people.
Oh, beautiful, man, and, like, what I resonate is, like, you are your only limit.
Facts, yeah.
Like the self-limiting beliefs of like, oh, I don't think I'm a leader.
Yeah.
But then the support from your community is equally important. And then I see all of the leader qualities, by the way.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to what's coming next. And I really want to do some like warrior stuff too, like what you do with.
Most definitely the club. Like I was telling you, like when I can figure out like how to get some over here, like I want to do master classes on those as well.
Right on, man. I will be there for sure, for sure. But I wanted to ask you, if you want to give an advice to the 16-year-old you, what would be that advice?
To not be so hard on yourself. I think it's like part of like that perfectionist syndrome where it's like always not feeling ready because of like we saw X, Y, and Z. That there's never going to be a perfect moment, right? So like stop waiting and hoping for that perfect moment. Like you are ready, and then through your experience, through like the little failures, like you'll get where you need to go.
Yeah.
Like there's no progression without failing.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's a trick question too. I use the failure, but then actually those are learning grounds for you to learn more.
100%. Yeah, it's only a failure if you didn't learn from it.
Right.
So that's what I've learned. Because I used to like, especially with the physical, like challenge myself a ton of times. Like with Animal Flow, once I went through the certification, like there is a process like to actually get your cert. Like you have to practice the moves, you have to perform them perfectly. So like the little activations that we did in the beginning, would sit in this one studio for like hours, trying to make it look as clean and as strong as possible. But there was a lot of failing that went behind the scenes that no one saw. So like when people see like what I can do now, they're like, oh, it looks so dope. It must be so easy for you. I was like, now it is, but you didn't see the 1,000 hours that I put in to make it look like this now.
Yes, and it's a constant work too.
For sure,
It never stops. Oh, I know everything now.
Yeah.
But it's constant work.
Oh yeah, like even for myself, I've noticed it. Like one of my good friends, Andres, he's a level 2 certified coach and a regional coach for Los Angeles. And like he's fucking amazing. Like he's one of my like now he's like one of my inspirations, right? And so like when we were together, it's like I was feeding off his energy, and like my practice as far as like learning the level 2 stuff was getting a lot better. So since I've been out here, there hasn't really been many people that like are ready for that step yet. So I've like kind of dialed back on my own training. Like for everything for level 1, I still got and I like own, but I fell off a little bit because I don't have like someone better than me that I can feed off of and learn from more.
Wow, beautifully said. And then that's why the concept of having mentors and role models is so key.
Coaches need coaches.
Coaches needs coaches. Yeah, man. Beautifully said, man. I love that part. Last question I wanted to ask was for our viewers, if I ask you for 3 calls to action that they can take right now, right away, what would that be? It could be simple in brief terms, but 3 calls to action.
I would say like sit down with yourself and just ask yourself the questions as far as like if we're going from like a movement perspective or just like overall health. It's like, what do you really want to get from like your training program? Like a lot of people, it's like they just want to look good. There's no problem with that, but like be real with yourself and your goals, and then like, you know, reach out again. Like the benefit like that I've been fortunate enough to have is like I've had great mentors, but a lot of it was like me getting over the fear of like asking for help. That's something I've always been good. Like I've been open. I'm like, yo, can I pick your brain for a little bit? So like thinking about and being real with those goals, like what do you want to accomplish, and seeking. Like we're in the information era. Like you can find whoever, whenever, and just like reaching out to them. You know, a lot of people will be humble enough to be like, yeah, sure, like I'll give you some tips or at least some guidance. I know people have hit me up that I've never trained and there's never been a monetary exchange. But I'm like, here, like I'll send you down these like little rabbit holes. You let me know how it goes. If you want to do some work in the future, you let me know. But at least like I want to give as much free information as possible and let you take control of your training or your health or wealth.
Right. Yeah. And then like the experience, there's something about sharing your knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, and
I didn't create any of this. Like I learned it from someone, so it's like, you know, it's not mine to withhold. It's always like for me to share.
Right on. And then I think living in a city, again, my own self-limiting belief that I didn't feel like asking for help. Maybe my ego, maybe my comparisons or judgments. But then coming here, I realized that people actually want to help people. You know, so it's beautiful on that note. So well said. Thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
And Danny, if our viewers want to find you online, what's your handle?
Yeah, like I don't really have much right now. I'm working on that with my buddy Max. So I just have my IG right now. It's Hustle and Flow Fitness with underscores in between each one of the words.
Hustle and Flow Fitness.
Correct,
with underscore in between. Perfect. Yeah, you have it. That's your start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. And thank you so much, Danny.
No, my
it's
pleasure,
been a
man.
pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure knowing you, and I know that this is just the beginning of our journey as well.
Yeah.
And we'll be in touch. So thank you again, man.
Definitely, brother.
Cheers, Luke.
My traveling journey started earlier this year with Tulum, Mexico. And I'm here to share my journey from a monologue to a dialogue.